Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the first video under our new channel rebrand, All Things Alvalade. If you did not see our previous video, we used to be Sporting 160 EN, but have rebranded into All Things Alvalade. My name is Sam, and today, in our first video since the rebrand, I'm going to discuss why Sporting season was such a disaster. And of course, before we get into the video, we may be under a new name, but the Sporting jersey giveaway is still active. As of recording, we are only 30 subscribers away from 1,000. Once we hit 1,000, we'll be giving a Sporting jersey away of your choice. At this rate, it might be one of the new jerseys that come out in the summertime. We will cover postage and international shipping, so you could potentially get a jersey worth €100 for free. All you have to do is subscribe to us, take a screenshot of that as proof, and reply to the tweet in the description of the video, and you could win a Sporting jersey. Before we get into the reasons why Sporting season was such a disaster, let's first recap the season. Liga win, 4th place, 74 points, 4 points behind Braga, which sends Sporting into the Europa League. Champions League, finished 3rd in the group despite being in 1st place with 6 points after the first 2 games, including beating Frankfurt, who are the reigning holders of the Europa League, and Tottenham, who up to that point were unbeaten. Europa League, knocked out in the quarter-finals to Juventus, after beating Arsenal in the round of 16. Allianz Cup, lost in the final to Porto. Taça de Portugal, lost to Varzim, who were in the 3rd division. Overall, Sporting had their worst season since 2019, where they also finished 4th, behind Sporting Braga again. In this video, I will list the reasons why Sporting's season went down so badly in different categories, which I will explain in further detail. Again, if you do like what you see, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Reason number 1, selling key players and having no replacements for them. To put it bluntly, Sporting have always been a selling club. Of course, this is not just a Sporting issue. Benfica, Porto and Braga have always had to do this to stay afloat. But in recent years, Sporting have sold players such as Rafinha, Bruno Fernandes, Marcos Acuna and Nuno Mendes, each of which have gone on to either individual or team success. But this season, it felt different for all the wrong reasons. Firstly, João Palhinha, who was arguably Sporting's most important midfielder during the title-winning season, was sold to Fulham for a measly €20 million, and he quickly became one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League this season. Next up, Matheus Nunes was sold to Wolves, in which, to be fair, was a great deal for €45 million. However, what was not great is that he was sold 2 days before a Clásico against Porto in the 3rd game of the season, where Sporting had already dropped points in the 1st game of the season to Sporting Braga. And last but certainly not least, Pedro Porro was sold to Tottenham on transfer deadline day for €40 million. And Porro, in my opinion, was not only one of the best right backs in Portuguese league, but I boldly said he would be a top 5 right back in the world. With these deals, plus other sales of rotation players such as Bruno Tabata and Gonzalo Plata, Sporting made over €100 million in the transfer market. However, this was not shown in the players they signed. Sporting only spent €53 million in the transfer window, and the players brought in to replace the players that left were misses more often than hits. To give Sporting some credit, the replacement of João Palhinha with Morita was incredible business. The Japanese international was signed for $3.75 million from Santa Clara and has arguably been one of the best players of the season. However, what was not incredible business was trying to replace Matheus Nunes with Sotiris Alexandrodopoulos. Try saying that 5 times fast. Who was brought in from Panathinaikos for $4.5 million plus a 30% sell-on clause. The Greek midfielder only played 12 games all season for Sporting, with only 313 minutes played, not registering a single goal or assist, and Sporting are unlikely to move forward with him in the future after Ruben Amorim called him out in the changing rooms for lack of effort during Sporting's loss to Varzim. And finally, Pedro Porro was replaced by his fellow compatriot, Hector Bellerin. The former Arsenal player arrived from Barcelona for €1 million in January, and failed to fill Pedro Porro's big shoes. He played in 13 games since arriving, scoring once in 523 minutes, plus suffering an injury as he joined. However, the ex-gunner is set to join Real Betis for free in the summer, meaning Sporting's investment of €1 million will be going down the drain. Reason number 2, goalkeeping errors. Whilst football is a team sport, Antonio Adan has to hold a lot of the blame for this season. Adan was originally signed in 2020 to be the number 1 keeper, with experience at Real and Atletico Madrid, meaning he could also be a leader within the squad. While Antonio also had great games this season, such as the away leg against Arsenal, there's no doubt that the mistakes outweigh the positives. The 35-year-old has fallen off a cliff and has made so many mistakes that have cost Sporting crucial points and games. These mistakes include versus Marseille in the Champions League, where he gave an assist to Alexis Sanchez and got sent off within 20 minutes, versus Porto in the Allianz Cup final, failing to catch a simple shot from Stefan Eustáquio, versus Spurs in the Champions League, where he missed the ball from a corner then fell over for whatever reason, and versus Juventus in the Europa League first leg with the same error as the Spurs game, but this time from a cross instead of a corner. With the raw Franco Israel as a number 2, who was not ready for the number 1 role, Sporting was stuck with the costly Adan, and not even the Europa League propaganda could help Adan hide his errors. Reason number 3, lack of strikers. Sporting went into the season with 1 registered striker, Sporting's record signing at €17 million, Paulinho, and also an injury-prone player as a makeshift striker in winger Jovan Cabral was shifted for a striker role in Amorim's setup. Jovan Cabral only played 10 times this season, not scoring or registering a single goal or assist, and only getting 4 appearances spread over 50 minutes in the league. To put it clearly, Ruben Amorim is the only reason why Sporting didn't sign another striker. He clearly loves Paulinho and sees him as his number 1 forward, but many times this season and the season prior, Sporting have had little to no goal presence, especially when Paulinho is so inconsistent, or in this case in the season, injured. What's also crazy about this is that Sporting have needed a striker since Bastos left in 2019. Ruben Amorim was in a crisis in January when Paulinho got suspended. He had no other registered striker in the team. With Jovan Cabral injured, he made the decision to call up 18-year-old Youssef Chermiti. The Azorian was called up from the B team, controversially ahead of his teammate Rodrigo Ribeiro, who made his debut last season against Manchester City in the Champions League. However, the caveat with this is that Ruben Amorim promised Chermiti that if he signed a new contract, which was ending in the summer, he would not sign another striker in the January transfer window. Chermiti signed the contract and he started hot, scoring 2 in his first 5 games, including the winner against Rio Ave and a goal against Porto. But Chermiti cooled off since the Porto game, scoring 3 times in total in 22 games and 971 minutes. While on the other hand, Paulinho's 15 goals in 38 games might seem impressive, but he only has 5 goals in the league. It's frustrating to see our rivals have so many options up front compared to us. Benfica have Gonzalo Ramos, Musa and Tengstedt, Porto have Taremi, Evanilson and Dani Loda, and Braga had Abel Ruiz, Banza and even Vitinha before he left to Marseille. All 3 have better striker options than us, and I would care to argue that all of those players get into Sporting's team at this moment in time. Reason number 4, injuries. Arguably this could be the main reason why Sporting's season was as bad as it was. Sporting picked up so many injuries that you can easily lose count of all the players that received knocks, surgeries and illnesses this season. But let me try and name a few. Saint Just had 5 injuries since signing for Sporting in the summer, missed a total of 19 games this season. Daniel Bragança tore his ACL in pre-season and missed the entirety of the season. Luis Neto had a collapsed lung and missed 4 months. Jovan was injured for the majority of the season. Hector Bellerin missed 5 games with a knee injury since signing for Sporting. Morita missed 9 games. Coates missed 6 games. Pedro Porro missed 9 games. And finally, Paulinho missed 12 games with 3 different injuries this season. Whilst every team has injuries, it felt like Sporting were very unlucky this season. But is it unlucky, or is it due to the fact that the next point is? Reason number 5, lack of squad depth. In total, Sporting were in 5 competitions this season: the Champions League, the Europa League, the Taça de Portugal, the Allianz Cup, and of course the League. With that many games, you're bound to see some injuries, and as well, the Winter World Cup did not help matters at all. Many times this season, Pedro Gonçalves had to play in midfield as an 8, due to not having any depth in the midfield when Morita or Ugarte were either injured or suspended. Sotiris and Talonga were bought in the summer and winter transfer windows respectively, but either aren't good enough to feature or are also too young to feature. To put this into perspective, Sporting have a total of 8 wingers: Arthur Gomez, Fatau, Trincao, Rochinha, Edwards, Pot, and technically Jovan Cabral and Nuno Santos, but they were played in different positions this year. But only having 2 midfielders with experience in Ugarte and Morita. And as mentioned earlier, the striker and the goalkeeper position have also been affected from the lack of depth in the squad. The last reason for this video, reason number 6, Ruben Amorim. Now don't get me wrong, Ruben Amorim is a fantastic manager who has achieved so much in his little time as manager, and it's just incredible what he's managed to achieve. But as good as he is, he definitely has his faults, and is partly to blame for the season going so wrong. Mainly, his ability to have a backup plan or a plan B is non-existent. He was too stubborn to buy another striker as mentioned before, and he genuinely played Sebastian Coates up front in many games, including the Juventus game. His reluctance to bench certain players like Paulinho, Pot and Adan as an example, and the lack of minutes he's given to players like Rochinha and Fatau. He's also been reluctant to give youth a chance. Mateus Fernandes, Dario Asugo, Chico Lamba, Nazinho and Fatau were all promoted into the first team this season, but have seen limited opportunities / minutes. In a season where we're in 5 different competitions, it would have been good for some young players to get in the rotation. Also, players like Fatau and Rochinha have been better than guys like Arthur Gomez, but Amorim still chose to give Arthur Gomez more minutes. In addition, Ruben Amorim's press conferences can only be described as baffling. He has constantly said, quote, "When the fans want me to leave, I will leave," when asked about questions about his poor management this season, as well as claiming, and I quote, "Liedson, Derlei and Slimani won 0 championships. You can say there was a striker missing, but to summarise, that's not correct. Diego Thomas and Paulinho won a championship against teams that spent 100 million. That was when he was questioned about his striker's poor form this season. He's obviously a great manager, but he's still young and he needs to improve quickly, as he has stated himself that next season he will be on a shorter leash." And that is the end of this video. What do you think went wrong this season? Who is to blame and how would you fix it? Let us know in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. And remember, we are no longer Sporting 160EN, we are all things Alvalade. Make sure to follow at @ATAlvalade on Twitter, TikTok, Spotify and Instagram, as well as subscribing to the channel for your chance to win a Sporting jersey. To keep up to date on all the podcasts, please follow us on Apple Music, Spotify and SoundCloud. I've been Sam from All Things Alvalade, and I will see you soon. Peace.